Hello, everybody, and welcome to an all-new, super special episode 52 edition of Press YYZ. I'm back! I'm finally back in the hosting chair after a million trillion years of not being allowed here. I don't know why they didn't allow me back. It's something super strange. Can definitely have not been as a result of a bunch of computer issues that crashed the show 3 times last week. All that aside, we are your favorite Canadian gaming podcast, Black Lives Matter. You can watch the show weekly on youtube.com/PressYYZ, live on twitch.tv/PressYYZ every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Or you can listen to it on your own time on podcast services like iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. We appreciate however you choose to support the show, including subscribing to us here on Twitch, using that free sub that comes with Amazon Prime, or through the beneficial gifted subs of other generous donors. But if you don't have any loonies or toonies to spare, it is all good, because we will be here no matter what. Guys, what have we been up to?
Introductions, Kozi.
Is that something that we have to do?
It's been a while, but we introduce each other at the top of the show.
Wait, is that really what we do? Do we have to restart the show?
Ideally, yes.
This is now an ASMR podcast.
No, it's not.
No, you know what? I think who's editing this podcast?
It's like a sex thing, I think.
Nathan, you haven't spoken yet. Do you know who's editing this podcast?
Yeah, it'll be me this time.
Oh, HAW. Okay, can you edit out this part? Unless
No.
it's really funny.
I need to add it in so everybody can finish.
Oh, okay. That's a good point.
Anyway.
All right, let's, in the theater of your minds, please play the rewind sound so you can imagine that this part never happened, unless you're really into ASMR. Today, I'm joined, as usual, by Mr. AJ Fraser.
Hey, hi, hello.
I'm joined by our precious film baby, Alex Ballant.
Hi, Kozi.
You're joined once again by the self-appointed head of HR, which is a term we have not used for him in quite some time, but I still think very much applies, Nathan McInerney.
I still have the binder, and can somebody explain ASMR to me? I don't understand it.
It's I think it's a remake of a Metroid game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, some guy who thinks he can take over my job for me, but we'll see just how well he does this episode, Mr. Mitch George.
Okay, let's get right into it, because I'd rather be hosting, but we want to make sure that no one's computer explodes.
Would you
Right now-
actually rather be hosting?
No, I love hosting the show, honestly. It's kind of a highlight of my week, but I'm happy to, give the reins to somebody else so I can.
I am excited to be on Cozy Bear's wild ride tonight.
Oh, me too.
I
It's
say
gonna
we
be ridiculous.
let him finish this out.
Oh, man.
This is a new day,
you-
so I'm very excited to see what else today brings. It's
I'm
been a
happy
good
to
I
week.
gotta
run
say-
the 1s and 2s tonight and give Kozi a chance at the rest of the show. Also, I got a big ass obnoxious water bottle.
Ooh. I gotta say, I always enjoy doing
fine.
episodes of Press YYZ. They're always cathartic. I am especially having a lot of fun doing this episode so far. So let's keep the fun going. A lot of us saw a show called WandaVision.
The MCU is
Perhaps
back.
you might have heard of
It's
it.
back. The MCU is back.
It's really good.
Let's
It's
go.
really good.
It's really good.
I don't understand people complaining about it, because I've seen people be like, I don't get it, or it's boring. And I'm like,
You're
you
an
don't
idiot.
understand yet.
No, you'll get it in 3 or 4 episodes. Like, that's the whole
Even-
thing, right?
But even if, honestly, I would take a whole show of just this. Because
I would take a whole season of like 2 episodes out right now. If you've watched the trailers, you kind of understand. They're kind of set in different decades of various sitcoms. I would take a whole season of each one of those sitcoms just to see where it kind of goes in that.
Mitch, you saw these
sense.
shows when they originally aired. What are your thoughts? Get it? Because you're
So
old.
that's Alex making an old joke. And if you didn't know, we're hosting a second show on this podcast network's YouTube channel called YYZ Video, where we're reviewing every Pixar film. And I'm the oldest person on that cast at 28. So the way Nathan feels here with us is the way I feel there with them whippersnappers. It sucks.
I'm surprised that
Sorry
joke
for
wasn't pointed at me. Although
will
I was
be.
not old enough for those shows either.
You
Just to
didn't
be
watch
clear.
Bewitched? or the Dick Van Dyke Show?
Neither of those were freshly aired when I was a kid.
Huh.
The oldest show I watched when I was a kid was Batman 66.
Oh, that's such a good show.
Oh, Get Smart.
yeah.
Back to WandaVision.
Sure.
The fact that they stuck to the sitcom tropes and the design is okay, we're gonna get into light spoilers here, or are we trying to keep this as spoiler free as we can?
There's not much to spoil.
There's not much to spoil in this one.
Say.
So
Anything is already out there in the trailers, really.
The opening scene, like when you get the anytime I get the MCU opening, I get, goosebumps and I'm really excited. But when it starts to go grayscale and the screen shrinks to 4:3,
it goes to 4:3.
like, they're committing to this, and I was so happy about it.
I love that
it
they
is one of
committed
those
so
things.
hard. Go ahead.
I just want to say quickly, Mitch, you, I think, posted on Twitter before I saw WandaVision, like, oh man, I got teared up hearing the Marvel Studios logo, just come in with all the various character silhouettes and whatnot. And I was like, okay. Then watching it myself, I'm like, damn, I am more emotionally affected / invested in this than even I was anticipating. It is good to be back.
The fact that it's updated with Endgame stuff as well. It's beautiful.
The snap is in there, and I almost cried when I saw that.
I'm just like, my biggest thing about it, and I did have a very similar reaction to seeing the Marvel Studios logo, and I just was like, I'm happy that it's back, but also I was actually surprisingly okay with not having anything for a year, because now it makes this feel so much more special because we got that long break. Obviously not they didn't want to have that break, but circumstances of the world made it so that they couldn't really release either of the movies they wanted to last year. But I think that just in a lot of ways has benefited them and made this so much more impactful. And oh my god, I just have to say, just the way that they've committed to the style. I just love that all of the effects are practical, or at least they appear to be practical. It doesn't look like specifically with Wanda using her magic, it looks like it's all strings and
they used old-timey effects and camera tricks and techniques, and
they even used old-timey cameras. They're using the older technology to record these shows too, and they also used a live studio audience, which I did not know.
Really?
That's cool to hear.
They're really sticking to the original, philosophies that went behind making these shows. And as we get further and further into this series, and we start to understand why presumably Wanda has done this, or someone is manipulating her to do this, we're going to understand more and more about her state of mind, what caused her to go. The last we saw of Wanda was in Endgame when she told Thanos he took everything. So is this her trying to build it back? Is this someone else manipulating her to try to get something from her? We really don't know. And to Alex's point of getting that year off, I think it was good to have that extended period off, but I do worry for most people that this is going to be a bit of an MCU overload this year, because we're getting WandaVision, we're getting
a
Winter
lot.
Soldier right after, we're getting Black Widow after that, then we go right into Loki, then there's Shang-Chi, and there's Spider-Man, and there's Marvel's What If, and there's Miss Marvel.
Spider-Man we're not seeing for 2 years, right?
No, it's this year, isn't it?
It's this year. It's December 17th, 2021.
Okay, there's no way that date holds. As it stands with Black Widow, they're not going to release it in theaters anytime soon, because theaters aren't still going to be in position to release them yet.
So I actually had this argument the other day with one of our co-hosts on YYZ Video, TJ. And he's convinced that Marvel is going to delay Black Widow, and I'm convinced that in May we'll be at a point. So that film comes out May 7th. I'm convinced we'll be at a point May 7th where they essentially have to cut their losses because they've been holding on to this movie for so long, that it is going to do the same thing that Raya and the Last Dragon is doing, and go to theaters, but also to Disney Plus day and date via Disney Premier Access, which is like $35, I think, which I will happily pay for an MCU film.
Did we ever get the figures on how well Mulan did using that method? Was Mulan successful, or was it? Okay,
we don't know.
But it also tanked in theaters because most theaters globally were shut down. I think box office. Someone else would have to look it up. I think it did like 100,000. And so the other thing too, to take into account is you can't. Disney's got all these numbers on their end of how they're going to release their stuff, and the metrics aren't going to be on sales. The metric is going to be conversion.
Viewership.
So not even viewership, but just new accounts, retained accounts, because that's an ongoing revenue stream for them as opposed to a ticket is one and done. So we did see on Christmas, we got Wonder Woman 1984 in the US via HBO Max, and we got Disney Pixar Soul the same day. And apparently that drove I think it was 2.5 million new app downloads of Disney Plus in that 2 to 3 day window post its release. And I could see something like Black Widow, or even to a lesser extent Raya and the Last Dragon, being able to do that as well.
So here's the deal, Disney. You're increasing the price of my Disney Plus this year. Just give me those movies for free. Screw this premier access stuff. I'm already paying for the service. Just give me the movies, and that'll get more people signed onto the service.
Think of it this way, Nathan.
Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Time out. We can only talk about the economics of the Disney Corporation and Disney Plus for another 2 minutes.
I have one last point, and then we can move on. And it really is
because this discussion, Mitch, that you were referencing in the Discord, at one point I was straight up like, I don't want to listen to this anymore. I am leaving because it was going on for so long. All right.
TJ's not here though, so
exactly.
It's not going to be as heated.
That's a good point.
BS.
Okay.
Nathan, the only thing I look at from that perspective is for a film like this, the economics of it for you as a father of 3 is there's 4 or 5 of you presumably going to the theater. So that's 4 or 5 tickets. That's snacks. That's popcorn.
To Black Widow 2.
Kids wouldn't go, or wife wouldn't go.
One kid.
Only the one kid. Okay.
One kid and me, no wife.
Too old, or too mature for them, or?
Yeah, I think Black Widow. I'd take my 10-year-old. That's it.
Kozi, he disappeared.
That's okay. We'll keep going. He's fine.
Yep.
Oh,
fair enough.
He'll sort it out.
Give me. Hold on a second. I'm still here for the record. Just I don't know.
Okay.
You know what? What must have happened? I'm using Logitech Capture to show my webcam source, and there must be a hotkey within the Logitech program that switched it over to something else. So
fair enough.
Okay. So back to what I was saying.
Unfortunately. Oh wait, you're still talking about this stuff?
Okay. For a family of 4,
go ahead.
Looking at 4 tickets and snacks and all that stuff, if theaters are even reopened when these movies start coming out. For you to pay $35 to have it indefinitely at home, especially let's say it's a film like Frozen where kids won't stop wanting to watch Frozen. God, there's a TikToker I follow that literally everything she does is about a skit of her with a young one wanting to just continually watch Frozen. If you have a kid like that, that's a huge money save for you. You don't have to keep going back to the theater. So I can see the economics of it working out, but we can talk about that at a later date.
Or we could talk more about economics right now.
Nah.
So the stock market.
Kozi, grab the reins. Grab the reins.
I specifically said that Mitch could only talk about it for another 2 minutes. I didn't put that limit on any other member of the cast.
I can mute myself. It's fine. I can walk away, go grab a snack or something.
If you want to talk about economics 101 with us, you can do so right now.
Oh, it's been a long time since I took economics 101.
Like the economics of subscribing to twitch.tv/Press YYZ.
Good job.
Yes.
You nailed it.
I think subscribing on YouTube, subscribing on podcast services, reviewing on Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you may be able to leave a review for the show.
I think we're all in agreement that WandaVision is a great time. I do want to give one last minute shout out to the credits sequence. I think that both the music and the way that they do the credits in WandaVision is super duper cool. But it's time for us to move on. And I want to move on
until we talk about it next week.
Yeah.
Yes. And every week.
Right. Until we talk about it next week. And what is it, the next 6 weeks? No, it should be 7 because there's 9 episodes, right?
It will.
It's 10.
Season finale will premiere on, I think it's March 12th, and Falcon and Winter Soldier premieres on March 19th. So there is no gap between WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oof. All right. Well,
I'm into it.
Should we have a separate
situation
YYZ video Marvel recap?
We could do it as short form content.
We'll talk about that
It'll be
later.
an hour and a half long.
For sure. I think that there's definitely enough of something there for us to seriously consider it going forward. But
it'll be short form, but longer than the Pixar episodes.
Exactly.
Right now, let's go from talking about the long haul that will be MCU's episodic television shows in 2021 to talking about the long haul that is playing Death Stranding. Alex.
Yes. So I'm not actually playing Death Stranding. I'm watching my girlfriend play Death Stranding.
Oh,
and let
wow.
me tell you, it's a really enjoyable experience, especially for anyone who has played Death Stranding, knowing the things that are coming and just kind of how convoluted and weird it gets. I love that game so much, and it really is, in a lot of ways, it's very accessible because its focus isn't about combat. It's not about fighting like enemies. Like there is some of that, but for the most part, it's about traversing the environment. And so for my girlfriend, it's like, Aunt, the way a doll can play video games, it's a little difficult, but when you prop it up enough and you have the thumbstick going the right way, it kind of plays itself. But yeah, so like it's a really fun experience getting to kind of sit there and kind of like talk about the different things, especially the community aspect of that game and how everything that you do in that game only helps people, like eventually, or what people have already done will eventually help you. I really dig Death Stranding so much, and getting to share that with somebody who I care for very, very deeply is also really incredible. And it's fun watching somebody freak out when they enter a BT area and all the ghosts start attacking. So yeah, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to that because honestly, that's what I've mostly been doing this week. It's very fun, and I will probably have more updates because. Also, best part about this is she is a completionist. So, trophies that I have missed, she's gonna clear through, and I'm gonna get that platinum.
That's the spirit.
Nice.
Hell yeah!
Has she also been watching you play Catherine full body?
Very little, but mostly that's been a thing that I've just been kind of every night in bed because I've been playing it on the Switch. Are
you cheating? You're cheating on Death Stranding with Catherine?
Yes, but it's Catherine with a C.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wait,
so it's
is
not
the
that
Catherine
bad.
with the Q in this game?
Yes.
Yes.
I have just met Catherine with a Q. So again, I don't have too much to say because I'm only very early on in Catherine Full Body, and I never played the original Catherine. So this is kind of getting thrown right into the deep end. That game is fucking weird.
So, quick question: were you spoiled to anything before going into this game? Did you know anything about like the endings?
No,
because unfortunately, I had spoiled myself before going into it. Didn't ruin my experience with the game, but it is one of those things where I wish I had a blank, fresh slate going into it.
I'm very lucky that I didn't know anything about it. Really, the only things I knew about it beforehand was you play as a dude who cheats on his girlfriend with a girl who has the same name, but it's just spelt with one different letter. So basically, I just knew the premise, and that's it.
Did they bring the multiplayer over with this?
I don't.
There's like a weird competitive. There's like a weird competitive scene with like the multiplayer in the original release.
Interesting. I don't think it's in Full Body, but I could be mistaken. There's like a second. I've been mostly just mainlining the like main story, but there is like a second mode where you can do like challenge towers, and it's supposed to be like getting progressively more and more difficult. So I haven't even remotely checked that out because I'm gonna be quite honest, I'm playing this game on easy because I really don't care for the actual gameplay of Catherine. I like the like just the story that's going on, and honestly all the stuff that you're doing in the bar before you go into the nightmare is like where I'm invested. It's weird as fuck. It's very strange, and it's also just weird hearing Troy Baker's voice coming out of a character that is just the worst and you can't sympathize with at all because he's played villains before, but like even like in Death Stranding and the Joker, it's like those villains are at least charismatic and you can kind of like enjoy watching them, where it's like Vincent in Catherine is he's just a horrible human being. And so having to make decisions as him is really weird because it's like so many of the choices are like, I would never do that. But what would be the closest thing out of the choices that are given to me that I would choose?
I mean, I will say, I don't want to spoil anything, but certain revelations later in the game might slightly change your perception of Vincent. I don't like, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh man, Vincent, great video game character, you know, very moralistic individual. I do think he's a cool guy. I once read it was not a review of this game. It was like a research, like op-ed thing that described him as a cool bum. And I think that's pretty appropriate. Vincent is the cool bums out of video game cool bums.
Would it surprise you, Alex, if I told you that this was the bones for Persona 5? Until they realized that it wasn't Persona 5?
Hearing that and like just visually, it makes a lot of sense. Like even the soundtrack sounds similar to it, and like especially even just the way Vincent walks in the bar is very much like how Joker walks in the school. It's like when you like the walking animation, so I could totally see that. And I guess that's probably why I've been as even though I don't like the actual gameplay of it, it kind of explains why, at least aesthetically, I'm like all in.
Yep.
Well, you know, it's too bad that the gameplay of Catherine, or at least the core section of Catherine's gameplay where you're climbing up blocks, isn't really appealing to you. But I do know for a fact that another game by Ghost of Tsushima Legends had gameplay that really did appeal to you, Nathan.
Yes. Well, so last night was my first time trying Ghost of Tsushima Legends. Mitch, it was Kyle and Justin jumped on last night to play for my first time of it. And really, I've never been a big multiplayer guy, so I wanted to see what Legends was about. And I had a good time. When Mitch and I went through some of the co-op story mode, and then we spent some time grinding levels in the survival. Is it survival mode, Mitch?
Yeah, it's kind of like a horde mode. And just to give context, we were actually using our Discord server for this. So we have a Press YYZ Discord server. If anyone is interested in hanging out, playing games, talking WandaVision, link is in the Twitch chat. It's in, I think it's on the link tree. It's in a few places. If you need it, reach out to any of us. We can get it for you. But yeah, no, we got together. I'd played some of Legends when it first launched with other friends of ours in the Press YYZ Discord, and I want to play way more of it. It's so fun to hop in there with friends and just coordinate. Okay, we need to protect this point or this point and cover all that, and then even running through the 2-player stuff. It's a really creepy story that that's told through these co-op missions, and I really want to get a party together to tackle the raid at some point, because apparently that's like the finale to what was teased at the end of these co-op missions. So I want to play through the rest of it with you, Nathan, and I want to be able to get a crew together to do that dang raid. And yes, Mike in the chat, me. If you're down or you're in whenever you want, Alistair Brynvar in our chat, also another regular Ghost of Tsushima player. It's so good.
Excuse me, Alexander Kazina from the press pool coming in with a very Alexander Kazina question. Were there any new trophies that were introduced with Ghost of Tsushima Legends? Yeah.
Yes, but they're not required for platinum.
I mean, that's totally fine by me. My concern was not that they were required for the platinum. My concern was that they weren't going to exist at all, which, you know, would have been a terrible slight upon this game.
Yeah, no, 6 new trophies, and then 2 for the new game plus, kind of like Spider-Man did.
Got it.
Yeah,
you've also been playing
100% at this point.
Cool. Nathan, you've also been playing King of Fighters 14 Ultimate Edition. I'm assuming that is the correct numbering. It's been a little while since I studied ancient Roman numerals.
Your ancient Roman is up to date. You're good to go there. Yeah, I got a review code for King of Fighters 14 Ultimate Edition, which really, let's be honest, is King of Fighters 14 with the 2 season passes. So it adds 8 additional characters, bringing the roster up to 58 characters total that you can play as. And 10 extra costumes. It's honestly, especially after playing Street Fighter 5 Championship Edition or Champion Edition, I think it was just called, doesn't have the same value impact that it does, but King of the Fighter is just such a solid fighting game In terms of its playing game, I had a great time with it. It's got all. Are you guys familiar with King of the Fighters?
Not
I
at
know.
all.
It's
I know
a fighting
Terry.
game.
Terry, yeah. So it's the SNK fighting series, and basically they took their multiple fighting franchises back in '94 and combined them. So they had the Fatal Fury franchise, the Art of Fighting franchise. They had the Akari Warriors and Psycho Soldier, which were more, I think, side scrollers, but are in the arcades nonetheless. And they created this like ultimate roster of fighting games with a 3-on-3 tournament. And they've since '94, they had yearly releases for a long time. They've gotten out of yearly releases of it. But some of the best fighting on the planet. It was funny. My kids were watching me play it, and they were like, "Oh, Dad, that's Terry," because they know from Smash. And he's like, "Oh, is this a fighting game like Smash?" And I was like, "Well, let's be honest. Smash isn't a fighting game, boys. This is a real fighting game."
We can have that talk later.
It's not even the best crossover in video games.
So, but yeah, no, it's really fun. The biggest thing for me is in the season pass, they added Rock Howard, which was a character from Guru Mark of the Wolves, which was the last Fatal Fury game. I think it was 99 that came out on the Dreamcast. Might be 2001, actually. But it's the son of Geese Howard, who's the main bad guy, and he was raised by Terry. And this takes place in the future of the Fatal Fury universe. And he hasn't been a playable character in a game for 13 years.
Wow.
So I was super excited that he was included in the first season pass because he's just got such a long, like, he wasn't in many games, but he was in a great game that just kind of SNK didn't revisit because they just focused on the King of the Fighters franchise. So hopefully they've announced King of Fighters 15 for this year. That's kind of why the Ultimate Edition's out now. So I'm hoping that he'll be a fully playable character in the new game.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
AJ, I don't have a good transition for throwing things to you. So I'm just going to say, AJ, what you been up to?
Something I didn't bring up last week on the show, at least, is for Christmas, my girlfriend's brother made me my own personal Twitch layout. I'm showing it the printout kind of on camera here, which is not going to show up with NVIDIA Broadcast unless I hold it at a certain angle, maybe. But
no, because isn't your layout green?
No, that's not why. It's not a green screen effect. It's fully GPU made. It's made to look
right.
and cut everything else out. But yeah, so this thing here, this piece of cardboard that I have, has like all the art assets and whatnot on it, and he sent me the Photoshop files, and I spent a little while putting them into Streamlabs, and then I even taught myself After Effects a little bit with some of them creating an animated starting soon screen, and an animated be right back screen, and an animated stream is over screen. And that's actually been really fun and interesting and creative, and something that I've actually really appreciated. It did lead me to find out that through some good Googling, NVIDIA Broadcast, which I'm using right now to put this background of Osaka, Japan behind me.
Wait, you're not actually in Osaka, Japan?
I know. I'm a disappointment. Yep, I know. What is it? NVIDIA Broadcast actually has a bug, and I don't know if you've run into it, Mitch. I know you use it as well. But yeah, the bug itself, if I do anything else with NVIDIA Broadcast right now, my camera will freeze, and the only way that I can correct it is by shutting my computer off and turning it back on.
I've not run into anything like that.
It's apparently
I don't use the green screen effect. I just use the background blur a little bit and the microphone noise cancellation.
Yeah, I'm using
noise
both.
cleanup?
I'm using both of those through Discord right now. But yeah, it led me to find that, and that was frustrating to figure out. But when I was making these scenes in Streamlabs and everything, you know, there's layouts there for like full screen gameplay and like a bordered window gameplay and everything. And then I thought to myself, you know what? What's missing here is 4x3 gameplay.
Yep.
Right? For like old timey games and whatnot.
I got a story similar to that for sure. We'll get into it in a minute, but go ahead.
Absolutely. No, I got inspired to go into my basement, and currently right now sitting beside my computer speaker is my Nintendo Wii sitting I went on to Amazon and I bought a component to HDMI output.
Do you not have a Wii U?
I do have a Wii U, but
just use that.
I want it for GameCube games.
Oh,
because this inspiration that I had of creating 4x3 like gameplay video stream or whatever I might do in the future, was kind of brought on and inspired by me just like thinking back to games of my preteen years and early teenage years. And one that really came to mind, I ended up buying on eBay called 1080 Avalanche. I have admittedly recently, like I had it when I was a kid, traded it in to EB Games so I could get my 360 eventually. But what I ended up doing was buying it on eBay after I downloaded and played around with it a bit with an emulator, and I was just like, no, I want to do this for real. So I did go and buy the real deal, and I really just wish Nintendo would put their GameCube catalog on the Switch so it would be convenient, and I would probably pay more than what I paid for the eBay copy of which I can't remember the number now to play some of these old games again, but Nintendo won't do it.
Literally money on the table.
Literally. Fucking cowards.
Where's the Metroid trilogy?
I don't know.
When Metroid Prime 4 comes out this year, they'll release it.
Yeah. I also
Did anybody claim that in our fantasy critic draft?
That's why I'm saying that, because
did you say?
Oh,
why did you do that?
Because it was $0.
Sure.
Why not?
I mean,
Alex,
what is a better chance, Metroid 4 or Breath of the Wild 2?
Probably Breath of the Wild 2.
Probably Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild 2. Alex, I'm still rooting for you, though. I want Metroid Prime 4 to come out, and I want it to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to play a Metroid game. That would be nice.
So, over the last couple of weeks...
There's a really good Metroid game called ASMR I've heard of, actually. You should probably check that one out.
So over the last couple of weeks, I've actually been in a similar situation to AJ, where I've actually been streaming an old game that's in 4x3. And that's a game I've never played before, and that's Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. It is not.
I'm very
well
Mitch. Hold on. We need to time out for a second here.
Okay.
I'm very particularly concerned by the fact that you took the reins on this episode and introduced the fact that you've been playing this game. I was going to introduce this segment, Mitch, by calling you a coward and a fool and a nincompoop for stopping playing Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, a game that I have never played and that I have no real input on, and I actually could very well hate as well, but that I still feel empowered to call you out on having
you're jumping on the bandwagon of making fun of Mitch for giving up on KOTOR?
Well, not just that, but the fact that you took the reins on the conversation. We're like, let me present it in a very fair and equitable way. Let me just, start off and be like, the game is not aged very well. If I control the conversation, I can control everybody's feelings on me. No, Mitch. This is not how it works.
Mitch,
all right, put me on trial. Go have at it.
All right, everybody. Mitch is on trial. Do we want to? What were the options in The Dark Knight Rises? Death or exile? Do we want to give Mitch death or exile?
I mean, I agree with him.
Extremely painful.
Am I
It's-
missing
it's-
something? Why are
it's
we
not-
telling him that he's death or exile?
It's not a very
People are getting
this
mad
would
at me
be-
on the internet because I'm not enjoying playing KOTOR.
it's not a very
KOTOR is
fun
great.
game.
Why aren't you enjoying it?
I'm not enjoying it because I'm streaming it, and I think I'm actually going to eventually down the line, in a year or two, give it another fair shot
Once
off
you forget
stream when I can do more research and more reading and know more about the game. Because when I'm on stream, I don't want to be like, all right, give me 10 minutes to read 3 chapters of a guide to understand how I should be building this character, and I do want to play it at some point. I've now bought 2 copies of the game and own the sequel on Steam. So I do have aspirations to at some point play this game. It just wasn't going to work on this stream, unfortunately.
For stating that, Mitch, I will officially decide to exile you. That was me doing the whole Judge Hammer thing with my hands. All right. What else have you been playing?
Oh, he's gone.
He's been
What?
exiled. He's left.
Oh, damn. I looked away to go back to the Run a Show doc, but I guess I have
Just skip
to
'em.
reap what I sow.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah. What'd you guys eat for dinner tonight?
I had lasagna.
Hello Fresh.
Oh.
You
What
ate
Hello
the
Fresh
company?
dinner was it?
A tortellini. Dear, what was the Hello Fresh meal called? Pesto, basil.
Is my exile over yet?
No, Nathan's busy. Please
It's a
hold.
pesto, basil, cheese.
So cheese tortellini pasta with crispy bacon and corn.
So it was a cheese
Oh.
tortellini, pesto, basil with bacon and corn.
That sounds pretty good.
That sounds
Yeah.
Oh,
fantastic.
my wife wants me to get this right. Creamy pesto. What?
What's a
Creamy?
pasty?
Basil,
Basil, pesto,
cheese,
cheese, tortellini pasta with crispy bacon and corn. There we go.
That has been pronunciation with Nathan McInerney.
Yummy.
Just for the
Sounds
day.
pretty good.
In other news,
Pretty tasty.
words are hard.
good actually.
Yeah. By the way, Mitch, just for the record, Batman, he made the fiery bat signal go up in the sky, so the exile is officially over. You can come back.
How did he do that? How did he do that in the
Boo.
movie? I don't really understand. That was the one part of the movie that I honestly didn't really understand.
That was the only part you didn't understand?
That was the part of the movie where they were trying to tease the reveal of the Batman villain Firefly in the 4th installment in Nolan's quadrilogy, but unfortunately the 4th installment never happened.
I thought it was going to be Kite Man.
Well, but Kite Man hates fire. If he goes on fire, he's going to eventually rise up into space, and then he'll be a spaceman.
Well, that's why they're good to opposite personalities.
I just-
Anyways, Mitch, you still
Yes,
there?
sir. I think
You've
so,
been-
if I'm allowed to.
You've been playing a Pokemon game that's not exactly a Pokemon game.
I've been playing a couple Pokemon games, and one of them actually is.
Is it Pokemon My Ass version?
No.
That I linked you?
I got a bit of Pokemon fever to start this year because, I am me and Pokemon is great. So with some friends of ours, including former guest of the show, MC Fixer, TJ from YYZ Video, Antgore, who's been doing a great job of actually getting the server running from the Addictive Nerds Network. Go check them out. We've been playing Pixelmon, which is Pokemon in Minecraft.
Wow.
And I've never played Minecraft. So it's been really hard because I keep trying to do the Pokemon things, but I'm not doing the Minecrafty things. So I keep running out of resources because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I need to learn Minecraft now, everybody. Can someone help?
I can help with Minecraft. Minecraft.
AJ knows Minecraft.
I would appreciate that. What I need to do at this point is probably find a quick start guide or a dummy's guide to Minecraft or something so I can get those parts out of the way to get back to the Pokemon part. Because the Pokemon part's really, really good.
In the menu of Minecraft, there's an achievement list that kind of trees and branches out. You follow that first before you go looking online and see if you can try and replicate some of that. Plus, it comes with the recipe book built in typically.
Yeah.
So you should be fine if you can follow that sort of thing.
Cool. Yeah, but I have also been playing a typical Pokemon game, and I've been doing this off stream away from everything because I don't want people to judge me. Also, I don't have a good way to stream it.
Is it the Pokemon My Ass version?
Wait
No,
a
I
minute.
restarted Pokemon Omega Ruby as a Nuzlocke.
Oh,
Why would you be?
Mm.
Why would you be feared that people would be ashamed of you?
I've never done a Nuzlocke run of Pokemon before.
Explain what a
And
Nuzlocke is for
I
anyone
was
who
going
might not be aware.
So so a
Sorry.
Nuzlocke run in Pokemon, for those who are not aware, is it's essentially a user inflicted rule set that is essentially hard mode in Pokemon. If a Pokemon faints, you have to release it. You can only catch one Pokemon per route. And there's some other limitations you can and cannot put in as modifiers, but those are kind of the crux of it, of one Pokemon per route. If it faints, it's gone. And I've been playing through this off stream because I do have aspirations to do a Nuzlocke on my streams, and play along with the community, and everyone gets invested in my Pokemon, and it'll be a good time. But I wanted to make sure I had the stomach for it personally before getting into it on stream, because I feel like I will get very emotional over not being able to use things like my starter if they
You
faint.
should. Can I offer a suggestion?
Of course.
If you do decide to do this on stream, you should name it after people who are in the chat. So when they die, you can laugh at them, be like, haha, you're dead.
You joke about that, but I was playing with friends of ours I was playing while I was in our Discord the other day, and I was convinced to name my Nincada, my female Nincada, Trevor Jr. So I will be very excited when the spawn of our friend Trevor faints and is gone from me forever.
So I do want to say it was very fortuitous that you managed to pick up a Nincada, because that will eventually evolve into 2 Pokemon, which will multiply your options in battle.
It will, but one of those Pokemon only has 1 HP, so if it gets hit by anything super effective, it is then dead to me forever. So it is very much a double-edged sword when it comes to using a Shedinja in a Nuzlocke. But I'm looking forward to playing through more of it. I'm only up to the 2nd gym now, so I'm sure I'll give more updates as my journey continues.
Cool. Speaking of continuing along a long and arduous journey, you've also been playing some more of that Cyberpunk?
Yes, because our friends keep giving me crap about not finishing games, so I'm convinced that I'm going to go back and finally friggin' finish Cyberpunk. And they're still convinced I'm not going to do that.
And you're still playing it on Stadia, right?
I am only playing it on Stadia. I'm going to play through it on Stadia until the PS5 version launches, and then might do another run through there. The other thing of note was I had Monday and Tuesday of this week off of work, because technically I was unemployed for 2 days as I left my old job and started a new job today.
Congrats.
So thank you.
You're not the only one who started a new job today.
Oh no?
President Biden.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, whatever. Mine was more important.
Sure.
So with the way that we're set up with working from home, I'm at the desk right now that my wife uses for work, and the PlayStation is here, the Xbox is here, my PC games are here, because it's where my PC is. So I didn't make the effort to move any of those to the TV, just so I could give myself a reason to have to play Cyberpunk and then still play a bunch of Pokemon in between. But I did put a good probably 8 or 9 hours into Cyberpunk over the last couple of days. I'm really liking the story's going. I do want to finish it. I'm hoping I can do that soon, but it's a great game. Nothing more else to say.
One I want to return to at some point. At this point, having put like 16 hours in, I think I'm going to wait till the Series X version drops, just because even though I didn't run into any massive issues, it just kind of fizzled out for me, which is a shame, because I very much made it a part of my personality that I was excited for this game. So, oh well, I'll play it when I actually kind of feel like it, and I know I'll enjoy it because I did enjoy what I played.
Sure.
I'd be gravely mistaken, Mitch, if I didn't also briefly touch on some of your fantasy league exploits as of late.
Well, I just kind of wanted to bring this up because we haven't had a chance to talk about it this year on the show, that we've put together a Press YYZ Fantasy Critic League with some friends of ours in the Discord. Again, if you want that link, it's anywhere you can find it, or just message us. I was really upset because I drafted Hogwarts Legacy, and that's been delayed. And then I picked up Riders Republic as a $0 pickup, and it got delayed. I've had to scramble a little bit. I'm still
Even
pretty happy
It's
with the
still
roster
coming out
I
this
have.
year, though.
It is still coming out this year, but I'm still worried with the delay that they're just going to keep pushing it because that's what Ubisoft tends to do with games. I'm still pretty happy with my picks, and I just wanted to kind of give us all a chance to talk about the games we picked and how we feel about them.
I'm really upset that you picked Scarlet Nexus. My own strategy is I picked all the anime games, and you had to pick the anime game of 2021.
You also didn't pick up Boyfriend Dungeon, though. That's an anime game.
I mean, it is... Like, I have no issue with like Western-made video games or shows that are done in anime style. I have no problem calling those anime as well.
Oh.
But it's like I can't choose that over Final Fantasy XIV's next expansion or Neo: The World Ends With You, for example. You know what I mean?
I mean, Tales of Arise was also available for pickup, which I was able to grab. Yeah, I grabbed that late. But I just wanted to see if anyone had anything they were, keen about, anything they were worried about. So like, I'm very excited to have gotten our first overall pick. You guys saw me randomize it. It was not rigged, and picked up Ratchet and Clank.
Rookie Commissioner.
I think Ratchet and Clank is going to be great when we do get it.
Yeah, that one's like a sure-in.
I'm worried a little more about games further down the list. Like I have Outriders and the unannounced 3D Mario game, which isn't even rumored at this point, just as placeholders until something else gets announced. But I do need to fill out the rest of that roster.
You think you're worried about your list? There's some people who we've who are a part of this who have some questionable picks, to say the least.
You mean Chaos Productions?
I mean, I wasn't gonna name any names, but
I only named the studio. I didn't name the fact that it's Rob and he's a crazy person.
Rob is kind of insane.
Well, I expect we'll see Starfield and Beyond Good and Evil and a Blue Point
Bones
Metal
is
Gear Solid remake
here as well.
Skull and Bones, a mainline
really
Sonic game, which is going to suck. I don't know why you'd pick a Sonic game.
He picked up the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes that are rumored at this point, but now there's actually credence to those, and I'm kind of upset.
I was going to say, now that there's credence to those, and now that we all know that those remakes are going to be fire, I think he's on the right track.
I don't know if they'll be fire. I think we need to see it before I could say that, but
I think they're going to be fire.
How did Let's Go Easy
right
do?
Here,
It's like
right
an 8 out of 10.
Rob,
I don't think it's going to be Let's Go style. I think it'll be in the Sword and Shield engine.
Yeah, what was Sword and Shield? Oh.
82?
Okay, so
I think
he'd net some points.
Well, it was 80s for sure.
We won't go in depth into it today, but I do think that Diamond and Pearl remakes have potential to be really good if they take everything that was good about Diamond and Pearl and take everything that was good about Sword and Shield, because I feel like those things that are good about both games are going to be very complementary, assuming that that's the route they take. I want to talk for a brief moment to talk about what I've been doing all this past week, which is playing a little game called Kingdom Hearts RE Chain of Memories. Alex, you are officially exiled right now.
Yeah, I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm going to go get a Coke Zero.
Enjoy your poop.
I don't necessarily... Like, here's the thing. Last week, I said, I'm just going to keep my discussion about this game to a minimum because this is a game I've played many times before, and I don't feel like I have necessarily a whole lot new to say about it. It then kind of dawned upon me over the past few days, though, that was a little bit unfair because I have not really talked about that game that much on Press YYZ specifically. The original Game Boy Advance version of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories is legit one of my favorite games of all time. Like, legitimate, it's in my top 5 games of all time. It is a kind of card-based action RPG take on the Kingdom Hearts formula, and I realized that just those words alone are a major turnoff to a lot of people. And no, not the Kingdom Hearts part, the card-based part. But for whatever reason, it was just playing that game. I was like, wow, this is hitting on all the dopamine receptors. And it was that way the first time I played it. It was that way the second time I played it, third time, fourth time. Eventually, I got the PlayStation 3 version of the game, which was actually originally released on the PlayStation 2 in 2009. Anyways, long story short, I'm boring everyone with all this needless exposition. I don't think that this version of the game, which I'm playing on my PlayStation 4, is the most optimal version of it. I think that on the original Game Boy Advance, the sprite work in Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories is a lot more prettier than like the PlayStation 2 models that this game uses. I also think that the battles are a little bit more thrilling because the arenas in which you fight your opponents are a lot smaller, which means that you have to be a lot more kind of on top of making decisions quickly. All the same, it is still a good, fun time. Looking forward to platinuming it over the course of the next 70 hours.
Good luck with that.
Jesus.
Is it over?
All right, Alex.
It just ended, Alex.
I'm pleased to
thank
let you
God.
know that Batman just rode his nuclear bomb into the sunset and exploded and ended up in Italy with a beautiful woman.
Did you watch The Dark Knight Rises recently?
No, I
Is
just
this why
remember
you keep making these
Fire
references?
rises.
I no joke. I saw that movie 3 times in theater and I've never seen it since. And
I saw it
somehow
times in
it just
theaters.
imprinted into my brain.
I
don't
saw
know
it in
what.
IMAX and regretted it.
Really?
I really liked it when it came out. It's not very good now, though.
It wasn't good then.
I was also 13, so
God, you're young.
God
I was
damn
dating
it!
Carmen when I saw that goddamn movie.
I was 18 when The Dark Knight came out.
Rises.
I just like saying.
Before we move on to our topic of the show, AJ,
Yeah.
you have something that you want to talk about with regards to you and the Giant Bomb forums.
Yeah, no, just really quick. So Giant Bomb is currently doing their Game of the Year deliberations, and this is the first year they've not been all in the same room together to do them. I know me being like the primary Giant Bomb advocate in this kind of funny group of people. It's something that I look forward to every year, the Giant Bomb deliberations, just a good reflection of games. But something that I got kind of inspired to do by our own Game of the Year episodes that we did here was I took the spreadsheet that we used for that and all of Mitch's fancy coding that he put into it.
I done math good.
He did math good. I amended it a bit and took
How dare you?
Since 2008, Giant Bomb has been around, and they've always done a Game of the Year deliberation. Yeah, 2008.
Jesus,
that's when
I'm
Giant Bomb
old.
came out.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
me too. And yeah, so they always put out, multiple lists of from the different staff members, kind of like how we had our own lists of our top 5 games. They do top 10 lists, right? So what I did is I amended the spreadsheet we used and made it be a top 10 list, and put all of the staff lists from every single year. I spent an entire Saturday afternoon doing this because we are in a new lockdown and I needed something to occupy my brain. Totally. Absolutely. And so, I just went through it. I took some liberties on breaking ties on some people's lists who would put 11 games or something like that because they couldn't decide on the 10th spot or something. And I went through all of them and just sort of came up with the definitive Game of the Year list. I'm gonna put this year's Game of the Year stuff together in the same document and on the same forum post and whatnot when that stuff is available. But I just wanted to give a shout out to giantbomb.com, a website about video games, for sticking with it and after all these years and being real cool. So Game of the Year happening now.
Man.
Video games are cool.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to you making all this effort to tabulate all this stuff. I people who listen to the show know that I listen to the Comedy Button, and like a couple of years ago, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take all of the catchphrases that Max Scoville says at the beginning of the Comedy Button and put them in one Google Doc. And let me tell you, man, that was 2 great hours that I should have otherwise spent listening to a guy drone on in a computer engineering class.
And now we're here.
Yeah, now we're here. Let's talk a little bit about our topic of the show for this evening, which is going to be us deciding on the top 5 games to introduce to kids, to introduce gaming to kids. This
So
is
I
going to be
want-
done.
This was actually an idea from our community. So Brynvar, very active in our community, wanted
Thank you,
to know
Brynvar.
how he was supposed to redeem channel points to suggest the topic of the show on Twitch. And I told him, save your points, just give me the idea and we'll throw it in. And literally we threw it into the next episode. So shout out to you and shout out to anyone else who wants to use their, what did we call
I was
them,
going to
Kozi?
say,
What did you call the monies?
girth bucks. I was going to say,
Girth
for the
bucks.
record, Brynvar, we love you. We love that you provided us with this idea for today's topic of the show. For the record, make sure that you redeem your topic of the show idea in the future. We are only making an exception this one time because Brynvar is a lovely person.
Yes.
We're good?
We're good.
good.
Well, and it's mostly because I wanted to use it this week because I think it's a great idea, especially since only one of us has kids. Trying to figure out what games are best to introduce kids to gaming.
Well,
the
let's
way
see.
that
I
we're gonna
started
do-
playing Halo, Crimson Skies.
Before we get to our picks, I should mention that this topic of the show discussion is going to be done in the style of player's choice, which means that we're going to provide all of our individual picks, and then we're going to go through them and in a polite and civil manner decide which ones are going to stay on the list and which ones are going to get kicked off. There's going to be no going at each other's throats, weird political manipulation, Baby Yoda tech and character model stuff.
Sorry, I just had an idea, and I need to say it now, or else I will forget it.
Go.
Maybe in the future of Player's Choice, we need to use the Game of the Year spreadsheet and put all of our things into that, rank them personally each time, and then we can go through the list as to where we would, like, how we would rank them, and then it would just formulate the
Well, it could be-
actual list.
It could be we all have our own top 5, and then our number 1 for each one will go into the YYZ top 5.
We
So,
have some.
you-
We have
you-
some.
We should probably do.
You thinking we could do the
Think
Game
about
of the
this
Year
next
thing
year.
for every time we wanted to do Player's Choice? It took
No.
like 3 weeks of pulling teeth to
No,
get
no,
you guys
no,
to
no.
fill out that damn form.
No,
we
no,
come
no,
into
no,
all
no.
of these episodes
I don't know.
hot.
I'm
I'm a
saying.
little bit more with AJ.
I don't even have
think there's
games
good ideas
prepared
here.
right now.
That's not what I'm saying, Mitchell. I'm
Whatever,
saying take
Alexander.
the entire list, and then all of us just on the show rank where we want everything, where we think everything should go, and then boom, it's done.
You have way too much faith in us filling things out.
I really do.
Brynvar, if you are listening to this podcast live, or if you're listening to it after the fact, schedule a tweet to remind all of us of this 2.5 weeks from now. Okay, good. All right, let's get into Player's Choice 5 games to introduce gaming to kids.
What? I do have a clarifying question.
Yes.
How old are we assuming these kids would be that we are introducing games to? 'Cause I
12
think
and
that
under?
does-
12 is a good
feel
number.
I think like I'd say like 7 is like the maximum. Does that sound fair?
So,
Young
Like
as
kids.
somebody with
youngest?
kids, my kids
Yeah,
started
go ahead.
playing games at like 3 and 4.
Right, but when is the latest you would want, like, in terms of trying to it's not even just introducing kids to gaming, it's also like trying to find games at the appropriate age to get them hooked on gaming. Because, like, yeah, I gamed at 4. Tetris and Pokemon were my jam, but I didn't really get hooked on gaming until like the PS3 Wii generation, when I was a little older and able to kind of form my own thoughts.
So the introduction would be when you were 4,
Younger,
and
or
you
when
were-
I got hooked
when you were younger. Because if the topic
younger.
is when you would introduce games to kids, what games would you use? Then it would have to be when you were younger.
Yeah, this would be like the minimum age when you're first introduced to it.
Okay, so like we'll say under 10 then.
Under 5.
Under 5.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
let's,
have eyeballs develop
let's
under
have
5. Like,
let's have a window of from the age of 3 when you can form a sentence
you
until
can talk at 3.
I'm gonna
I
say
know how
7.
kids work.
Dude, I could walk at 9 months. I'm a fucking miracle. Okay.
You're also a ginger, so you have no soul.
Strawberry blonde, motherfucker. Strawberry blonde.
What age were all of you when you all were enrolled in grade 1?
6.
Yeah, I feel like that's
so, yeah.
kind of it's like that's like the target age that we should go for, and everything around it is like a buffer, if that makes any sense.
So we're not suggesting any games rated T for teen. Is basically what we're saying.
I mean,
I
we can
wouldn't.
still recommend it, I guess, if we can figure out an
You
argument
have
for
to
it.
know
But I
your
would not do
kid.
that personally.
You
Yeah,
have to
exactly.
know your kid. That's up to the parent. If you can make the argument, I think it kind of counts. But we're not arguing here anyway. So
We're collaborating.
Yeah. Alex, I feel like
Yes.
I tortured you a little bit too much earlier with all my, just perfect, immaculate discussion of Kingdom Hearts RE Chain of Memories, one of the, best PlayStation 2 games that was remastered a couple of years ago for the PlayStation 3, and then later on
Oh,
got
yeah, of
ported
course.
to the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Mhm.
so
You will play through Kingdom Hearts this year, you motherfucker.
so let's cede the floor to you first. What game
Okay.
did we use to introduce gaming to our kids?
Okay. It's okay because I'm trying to think because
Doom.
it's like there's some like really obvious answers that you could have anything made
Manhunt.
by Nintendo.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
GTA Vice City.
Yeah. Postal 2.
Yep.
Jesus.
Cookie clicker.
I would say one that I think is a genuine game that I think kids could get invested in, but like it will age well for them in the sense that they can still come back to it and appreciate it for whole new reasons, rather than what they like. The kind of I can't think. They can appreciate it more as they get older, and I would say.
The other
I
thing
do
I want to say
think-
before you say your game,
Mhm.
are we suggesting this for parents now? So like in a time capsule of January 2021, these are the games for say the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, or are we spanning all of gaming history? 'Cause some things
any
might not be
game
as
that
accessible today as they were 20 years
any
ago.
game that is out that is currently released, so from this date backwards, I think is fair game. Games that you grew up with as a child that you might want to introduce your kid to, I think it's fair.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't feel like we should restrict ourselves to just the current generation. There are many parents who are like, oh man, you got to start those kids off with the SNES era. And it's like, not all the SNES games are super available, but, if you really consider those games to be the cream of the crop, the prime way to get your kids hooked on that gaming fizz, well, you got to go for it.
Let me ask the one parent in the room, Nathan. Do you
Yes.
feel like you're better off suggesting games that are more accessible to your kids that their friends might also be playing, or go back to the classics?
It's a little bit of a mixture.
Okay.
Let's be honest. When your kids start playing games, I started my son off when he was 4 with a Game Boy Advance, a Game Boy Advance SP. I still have that thing because I thought it was a neat little system. It wasn't too complicated. 2 buttons
time
plus
out.
the 2 shoulder buttons.
Quick timeout.
And a D-pad.
Alex
Yes.
Fallon, are you okay if I cede the floor to Nathan and let him
go for it.
first?
Yeah, let him go first. Yeah.
Sure.
Oh,
Go for it.
Sorry.
Oh, no
Um,
worries. I feel like his opinion's gonna be more
but-
informed than mine. So
So the first game I had him play was one of the Super Mario Land 2.
Yeah.
I think. And it was just a good introduction. The thing is, when you're thinking about introducing people to games, and we'll talk about this like till the sky is blue, but even when you're talking about World 1.1, there's a reason why World 1.1 works so well. It's because it teaches you how to play the game.
Yeah.
And when you want the kids to learn how to play games, you need to look at what makes the most sense to help them learn. Because if you give them a game like I had a Ninja Turtles game, but they would just be frustrated by that because it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up for the GBA. And they're not going to get anywhere, and they're not going to figure it's not going to be the same connection. So I remember because I had to wait in a passport line, so I brought that with him to occupy him, and he never touched video games before that. Now he's a video game fiend and is addicted to it. But yeah, no, it was. I think it was Super Mario Land 2, which you played in the GBA.
So I was going to say, I think we're all of a consensus. There should be at least one Mario game here. So let's just try to quickly come to a consensus of which game that should be, and that can be on the list.
Does cart count?
I would call that a
I would say that's
separate,
its own thing. Yeah.
Separate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would put it as a separate entry.
Which is funny because the GIF I used for advertising this episode was from Mario Kart, and it was one I did want to talk about at some point. So I'm glad you brought that up, AJ.
Yeah.
For me, if I were to suggest a Mario game today for kids in terms of accessibility, or like ease of getting into the series, I mean, there's all those games that are available via the Switch Online SNES app. I'd still probably go with the upcoming Super Mario 3D World. I think that was did a really good job of making it an easy introduction to a 3D Mario game, which is going to be more complex than 2D. So if we want to settle on a 2D title, I would cede that to the rest of the crew. But I think just the co-op aspect of that as well, of getting to play along with your kid, could help in terms of like being able to be there and play together, and it's an experience you have together. Because I know for me, I have experience playing Super Mario World on the SNES with my dad, but I would play the game up to the first ghost house or donut house, I think they were called. And he would take the controller because I couldn't figure out how that level was done. He'd hand it back. I get to a point I couldn't beat, I'd hand it to him, and he'd beat that, and so on and so forth.
It's called a ghost house. I think that you're calling it a donut house because the region where the first ghost house appears in the game is called Donut Plains. Yeah,
you're right. Yes, thank you. Yeah, the ghost houses. But if we're saying more 2D versus 3D, then I would say not 3D World, but that's the one I would throw out there for sure.
I would say 2D.
Okay.
Typically. And if you're going to go 2D, Super Mario Brothers Wii U,
Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe.
Or is it U Deluxe now?
Now the Switch one is Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe. I bought it for my sister for Christmas.
I think that Nathan actually might be onto something because I remember
Kozi,
you guys remember the
gone
opening.
again, FYI.
Sorry, what?
Your camera's gone again.
Oh, whoops.
No worries. But continue your point while you sort through that. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think Nathan is onto something here because if you guys recall, the opening to Super Mario Galaxy 2 has you start off in like a 2D Mario plane and then it switches over to 3D because I think the people at Nintendo understood like kids might have a little bit more difficulty adjusting to like a 3D environment. So let's make sure that we start them off with 2 dimensions first before we add in the third. And so I think that if we're, starting off with a kid who maybe has had no exposure to video games at all, then yeah, maybe you might want to go with a 2D Mario instead of a 3D, even though obviously Super Mario 3D World is still a stellar choice.
So are we thinking U Deluxe? Are we thinking Super Mario World? Are we thinking Super Mario Brothers 1 through 3? Where are we kind of landing here?
I know I mentioned it on a previous podcast very early on, but my earliest gaming memory specifically is me playing the original Super Mario Brothers on the NES with my dad, and him showing me that first secret one-up mushroom in the hidden block very early on. That is one of my first and earliest memories of gaming in general, and a very fond one I have of me and my dad. Would I suggest that for kids? I still couldn't beat that game today if I wanted to. So probably not that. Some of the newer ones are probably a little more accessible, I would say. So we could probably narrow
Deluxe.
Yeah,
honestly, moving on.
Bowser's Fury. No, that's
Super Mario 3D World.
Yeah, never mind.
Which I'm very excited to play again with Carmen.
Oh, it's not a good game.
It is a good game. Let's move on.
The expansion looks better because it looks like they made it not that game.
Damn it,
Nathan.
It looks like an expansion to Odyssey, basically.
Yeah, that's why the expansion actually looks better. I'm excited to try that when I buy this game for my wife and kids to play.
Nathan, is there any other game that you wanted to bring up now that we've had our big discussion about having a 2D Mario on the list?
So Mario was the big one. I think I had introduced him to Tetris, but he didn't get Tetris. I think you have to be a little bit older to understand Tetris a little bit better in the play because it just stacks up and eventually, like, you just get out.
Sure.
But
I mean, I was playing Tetris at 4, but that might have been in an extraordinary circumstance.
I would
I
say
wasn't winning
Pokemon.
by any means, but yep.
We bought him
There has to be,
Pokemon
yep.
Black 2, and I thought he wouldn't be able to get through it. But without knowing how to read yet, he beat the game.
Oh wow.
Wow.
That's not an easy
So-
Pokemon game either.
Yeah, so we happened to just find it used, so I bought a copy of it for him. And it was his first introduction game, and he didn't know how to read, and he still beat the game. So I think there's something accessible in the Pokemon series, and I don't know which entry it should be, and I'll yield the floor to you guys on entry that makes sense. Probably Sword or Shield would be my
That's
guess.
what I
if
was
we're
gonna
talking-
say.
That was I was
Current
going to
day.
say as well.
Go with the latest and greatest for sure.
Yeah. Well, and they simplified Sword and Shield in a lot of ways and took out some of the like harder stuff from the prior games, right?
I would say in terms of the most accessible Pokemon games, you're honestly Let's Go or the Sun and Moon generation were probably even not easier, but they were a lot more handholdy than Sword and Shield. But I think Sword and Shield is a good balance of both difficulty for kids as well as, the bright visuals. And if they have friends who are also into Pokemon, then you get into the trading. Like the big thing for me when I was a kid was we had that one friend who had a Game Boy Link cable, and we'd always go to his house at lunch and friggin' trade Pokemon because he had red and I had blue. So that whole collection aspect of it as well was something that that was really cool as a kid, and I'm sure kids are still into that today. Kozi jumps around in his video. But I would settle on Sword and Shield, I think, for this list for sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
Cool. Mind if I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Go for it.
Alex, are you okay still being
Sure.
sidelined?
I can be the last one if need be. I'm fine.
All right.
I think we have to have a superhero game on this list.
Sure.
Because when I was a kid, one of my fondest gaming memories,
Superman
being introduced
64.
being introduced to a new I didn't have an N64 as a kid. Being introduced to a new console, I played games at that point. I wasn't into games at that point. So for me, the Neversoft Spider-Man game on the PS1 was something very, very special to me, and brought a character that I love into a form where I could interact with that character in a way I've never done that before. I think I had a Spider-Man game on the original Game Boy that was terrible. So that PS1
I think I remember that one actually.
It was really bad. But that Spider-Man PS1 game really did something special for me. So if I were to narrow it down to two that I think we could argue between, and you guys are going to laugh. And this would be for an older kid you're introducing to games because they're both rated T for teen. So use your judgment as a parent, but it would be Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order, or Marvel's Avengers.
I wouldn't say Avengers. I would say Ultimate Alliance. Yeah. I would say Ultimate Alliance out of those two. I thought you were going to say. Honestly, I thought you were. I thought you were going to say Spider-Man, like the PS4 Spider-Man.
About it. I think it's a little too complex. I think
Spider-Man PS4 is a better option.
Yeah, because like
Avengers and Marvel Ultimate Alliance are more button mashy. So I was just thinking for kids, it's easier for them to get into and play.
For me, the thing is
aspect.
More than just being easier to get into play, like I feel like the objectives in Ultimate Alliance 3 are way simpler than Spider-Man and Avengers. There are multiple points throughout Avengers where I'm like, it's not super clear to me where it is I'm supposed to go or what it is exactly I'm supposed to do. And so that's just something that I'm keeping in my mind as I'm kind of making these decisions.
Yeah. I just think that the popularity of the MCU, and I know we talked about it a bunch at the top of this episode with WandaVision, it can't really be overlooked at this point. Like those properties do mean a lot for getting people into experiences and to get people to spend hundreds of dollars to go to a theme park with heroes or all these other things, right? So I think the IP itself can't be overlooked. So I think in terms of licensed game representation here, I think Marvel makes the most sense. And one of those three games, even if you want to throw Spider-Man into the mix. Although I think that might be a little too complex for younger kids. I think, well, Nathan, you can let it. Did you play Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 with your kids?
So we have Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. We also have Spider-Man PS4. My kids actually didn't gravitate towards Ultimate Alliance like I thought they would.
Right.
They played a little bit of it together, but it got too hard for them when they were in co-op mode. They put it down pretty quickly. But I will say they were playing Spider-Man PS4 and not even like doing the missions. They were just having fun swinging around the city for hours.
That was 100% the point I was going to make, is just you hand a kid a PlayStation controller and tell them like just hit the trigger, because the game does so much of the work for you to make you look good that it's just swinging around is just engaging on its own, that it can really give a sense of like, it can, in a lot of ways I do think that game can really help, because one of the biggest hurdles introducing anyone to games is just the language of using a controller. How do you move and look at the same time? And I feel like because the way that Insomniac made it so that a lot of the button presses kind of do cool things, even if it's not intentional, I think it could be a very good way to introduce somebody who's just not used to using a controller. And like, there's no punishment for like, say if you fall all the way to the ground, there's no fall damage either. So it's like, it has a lot of the tools in place to kind of teach how to traverse this environment, which I think is something that can't be understated.
I mean, I'm happy to concede to that then, if we want to say Marvel Spider-Man instead. I mean, it echoes one of my earliest gaming experiences in the Neversoft game, so I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
AJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
All right, who's next?
Alex, you said that you were willing to wait until the end to dole out your choice. So
Sure.
If you're still okay with that, AJ, you can go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I mentioned Mario Kart earlier. So I'm just gonna bring it up again now.
Mm-hmm.
The Mario Kart specifically that I was thinking of, not the most recent one on the Switch, but if you think about, say, Double Dash, right? For a younger kid especially, you have options with Double Dash, in that you can have, because it's 2 characters per kart, the multiplayer, you can play cooperatively on the same kart. Okay, you drive now and you throw the items, or vice versa, or whatever. Or you can, when they feel confident and ready, then they can go separately and have their own screen and their own cart and do the whole thing themselves if they wanted to. My first Mario Kart was on the N64, and that one was fine. But the next one, Double Dash, I think just the accessibility of the options that you have if you want to sit down and play with your kid, and they can help you win by throwing the shells, or they can learn to drive by driving and just focusing on the driving and avoiding objects and stuff, and while you throw the items and keep an eye out for that sort of thing. I think it's a good choice personally.
I think it's you made a very solid argument. My only question that I would raise, though, is, do you think, though, that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at the end of the day, though, is also equally worthy of recognition because it includes the auto steering mechanic in that?
Yeah, that is very true. It does have that. It's why I was leaning Double Dash specifically, is the cooperative nature that you can enable, and that's like the one extra aspect, because you always hear the horror stories about, like, you never know what to do with a kid necessarily, especially your own. When do you let them win, or do you beat their ass into the dirt and teach them a good lesson? Yeah, you beat the crap. What do you do?
assert
Well,
your,
crap
you
out of them.
assert
They
your
never-
dominance until one day they're able to overtake you.
exactly, and
That
you
never
still have
happened.
that. You still have that option in Double Dash. But if you're not necessarily interested in going down that path, you can do a cooperative Mario Kart in Double Dash.
So I like the thought to it. My question is, how easy is it to get a copy of Double Dash, a GameCube, and the multiple controllers to introduce somebody to it?
I mean, I've got a
we're gonna take
GameCube
this
right
list-
behind me. I've got multiple controllers.
You do, but a
Let's-
parent who's trying to introduce themselves to their kids to games will
Well,
likely use what they have around,
listen-
not.
I also
back on
was
nostalgia.
going to say, let's say in this hypothetical scenario, this hypothetical parent doesn't have an issue with getting their GameCube games through other means.
Yeah,
I don't think it's unfair for us to judge them if they feel like this is the way that
That's
we've got to do it.
the topic is 5 games to introduce kids to gaming, not what's the easiest, most approachable way to purchase a game to introduce your kid to gaming. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's just games. It's games in general, not like we said off the top, not limited to this current generation, which our list currently seems like it's heading that way.
I would agree with you there. I think more cooperative experiences, the better. That's why I shared Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3, thinking that'd be a good parent-child game to play. But on this one, I'm with Kozi of I think the auto steering, the auto acceleration, they've made it so more people are like I can get my mom to play Mario Kart, and my mom does not play video games. So I think from that respect, I think it's going to be you're going to have an easier time getting kids into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as opposed to Double Dash, where there's more to manage in terms of flipping the car around and all those sorts of things, right? I think for an older kid, for them to go back and do Double Dash would be cool. But I think if you're looking at a younger kid, I think Mario Kart 8 kind of hits that sweet spot.
I mean, I think that Mario Kart 8 is great in that regard, but I think AJ made a very fair argument on his own. I'll only be the tiebreaker if there is a tie. Where do you stand, Nathan?
That steering is helpful. The auto steering is a helpful thing. I actually never played Double Dash, so I don't have an opinion on the game. IGN gave it a 7.8, so I avoided it.
Too much water.
All right.
The puddles
Alex,
didn't look good enough.
I mean,
Where do you stand?
I'm kind of in the same boat. I've only played 8. I haven't played Double Dash, so
My kids love
But
8. I'll just say
Yeah.
that. Like they're
I do
they're
think
really
the access.
even
Yeah. Go ahead.
my
Sorry.
6-year-old's really solid at it. He can beat my 8-year-old.
Fellow YYZ video co-host Nick Blaine, aka Shotgun McPain, is in our chat saying he literally put 8 in front of a 3-year-old and they were able to play. So I think for that alone, if you're putting it in front of a kid who's young enough, I think 8 Deluxe takes the cake.
Yeah, I
Sure,
think the
I wanna-
accessibility of 8 just
I want
I
to
think-
again just acknowledge the argument that AJ put forth on why Mario Kart Double Dash is worthy of being on this list. I thought it was very, very good, but I think we've kind of come to a consensus.
Yep.
No, I think what he's saying is a really good argument. And
Absolutely.
honestly, if I could play Double Dash, or if they made a way to play GameCube games available on the Switch, I'd love to pick that up.
yeah,
and play with my
same.
kids
I
and
mean, they
try
put
that.
Sunshine on the Switch. Why can't they put Double Dash there? Maybe they're not working on Mario Kart 9. They're working on Mario Kart 3D All-Star Deluxe Ultra 8 something. I don't know.
Let's just be honest. There won't be another Mario Kart. It's going to be a Nintendo Kart next.
I hope so, dude.
Hope
They
so.
come out at
The only way
E3
they
and
can
announce a
evolve that
Nintendo
franchise.
Kart.
I mean, they put
That would
Link and the Villager from Animal Crossing in 8, so
Super Smash
Isabelle.
Derby.
and Isabelle, yeah.
Super Smash Derby.
Destruction All Stars.
It's not going to be good.
Battle Royale.
Destruction
Well-
All Stars is going to be good.
It's not.
Master
get, like,
Hand
6.
drops 100 characters
Moving
onto a
on.
map.
Moving on, with Mario Kart 8 decided upon as our 4th pick, I'll go ahead with my 5th pick. Spoilers, it's another Nintendo game, this time from the Legend of Zelda series. So, I went through the list of all the various Zelda games to try and figure out what would be a good game for somebody who is relatively new to the medium. And I decided to land upon The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. This is another instance where it's like I fully acknowledge that like maybe this is not exactly the easiest Zelda game to get your hands on, but we're in a hypothetical scenario where let's just say that the parent can get their hands on whatever game they so prefer. Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds was not actually a game that I connected with immensely myself when I first played it. I had a lot of love for A Link to the Past prior to it, and I didn't feel like narratively A Link Between Worlds really took advantage of its status as a sequel to that game. And I think one of the kind of main gimmicks of the game, which is that you can like obtain most of the items in the game right up front and use those to complete dungeons using a variety of different means and methods. It didn't really appeal to me. I like it when you obtain a item relatively early on in a Zelda dungeon, like your bow and arrow or your morning star or your fire rod, and then the rest of the dungeon is built around using the item in all sorts of creative ways. Discovering that like, oh, you can just solve these puzzles using whatever items you have in your inventory was disappointing for me, but I feel like for new time players of video games, that could actually be really cool, of being like, hey, I'm a kid, I'm figuring myself out, I don't know what I necessarily have a preference for. I kind of feel like I like bombs. I'm going to use bombs a lot. I'm going to be the bombs Legend of Zelda boy. Oh, hey, I can solve this entire dungeon, or at least most of this entire dungeon, entirely using bombs. I think that that is something really special about A Link Between Worlds. I feel deserves it having a spot on this list, unless somebody should feel like another Legend of Zelda game should be on this list.
I personally think the best one to introduce a kid to would
Link's
be
crossbow training.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it
Hey.
actually might.
Hey, I think it might actually be, for me personally, the Wind Waker.
Yeah.
And that seems like the obvious choice because it has, you know, the toon aesthetic and whatnot. You made a very good point of being able to play the play the way you want and what kind of items you want to use and when and whatever. I think personally, when it comes to Zelda, as much as I love Breath of the Wild, it's too open-ended. The Wind Waker, you have the toon aesthetic, you have the classic Zelda structure of, okay, you've done a thing, you need to go to this other place now, right? And then you do that thing. You go through you have the linear dungeon structure as well, but then it does open up just a little bit in terms of it's technically an open world because you have the entire Great Sea there that is yours to explore. You can go to an island and uncover all the different mysteries and whatnot. Depending on what version you play, whether if it's on the Wii U, you're going to have probably you're probably going to have an easier time because of the upgrades that they made, the slight upgrades that they made to it. But if you go with the original, you know, just being able to sail around the open sea like that, you could potentially get into pirate fights. You got to avoid bad weather. You know, the only thing that when I was a kid, the only thing that I used, actually, I think it was 13 when that game came out, 12 or 13. The only thing I used a guide for was the Triforce pieces, and there's no shame in that. It was just I did not have the patience to go try and find a map and then go to Tingle, get it decrypted, only to have him tell me to go somewhere else and get a Triforce piece. Go ahead, Mitch.
I have a couple of things. I don't know how accessible or how approachable the Legend of Zelda series is for someone under the age of 10. But if I were to throw one at it, I would also throw Link's Awakening into that boat, specifically the remake we just got on the Switch, because I feel like it's a smaller, more contained experience. The graphic style on the Switch, I think, could be really appealing to kids. It looks like you're playing with toys or clay or whatever you want to call that art style. I think that could be, again, they're probably just going to run around in circles and smash things with their sword. They're probably not gonna get through the game at a young enough age without a little help or a guide or something.
I know I couldn't
think-
do that in the original Link's Awakening. Yeah, so.
But I still think that might be the best one to put in front of a kid today. But I mean, I'm happy. Like we'll throw as many games as this list at this list as we can, and hopefully not go more than 2 hours. But we can narrow it down once we have more on it.
Just comparing the re-release of Link's Awakening to the Wind Waker. There is a cryptic nature to Link's Awakening that personally that's kind of what held me back from being able to progress. Where the Wind Waker and even A Link Between Worlds is a little bit more direct in telling you, hey, you can go do this thing next. This is where you need to go next, right? Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm going to say the problem with, and I love Link's Awakening, it's my favorite Zelda game, is the trading quest, where you have to trade all the pieces.
Right. And that's part of the main
because,
story, correct?
Yeah. There comes to a point where you meet a monkey and you need to give the monkey something so he can build a bridge so you can continue going. And it's a roadblock for people getting past that. Once you complete the whole trading quest, you get like an item which isn't necessary to complete the game, but it is built into you moving forward in the game eventually. So, and I love Link's Awakening. I think it's a great game, and I think the remake's really, really solid, but they didn't make it any better in the remake. So, in terms of figuring out what that is, but I'm going to side with AJ and say the Wind Waker, because we talked about like just swinging from in the city in Spider-Man, just sailing around the ocean is fun for the kids.
Sure, I'm down to throw that down there, and once we get games down there, narrowing it down. I don't know if Zelda makes the cut, but I'd never finished Wind Waker either, so I can't really speak one way or the other.
Well,
we so need that.
Even with just the three of you, it seems like Wind Waker wins by majority. So we'll put that down. Alex.
Finally. So I guess to continue on my original point before it got, tangents on
Sorry,
other people.
Alex.
Oh, no worries. Your opinion was a lot more informed than mine. And it gave me time to think, actually. So the game that I am going to be bringing to the table is one that kind of throws a lot of the things that we were talking about just out the window. But also still, I think,
isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Doom Eternal on ultraviolence specifically. If they can't beat it, if they can't eat it, or if they can't beat it, then they don't get to eat.
Your real pick is Leisure Suit Larry, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew it.
Can I wait before we go on? I just want to say that new Leisure Suit Larry game's actually good.
What?
Huh?
It's a good game. I platinumed it.
Possible.
Of course you did.
It was review code, but I love point-and-click adventure games. It's really good.
I'm
just
proud of
say
you,
that.
Nathan. Proud of you for platinuming it.
I'm not.
You know what? I am.
Alex, go ahead.
Okay, so the game that I was going to choose is it's Minecraft. I think Minecraft is such a good
one. That's a really good
because
one.
That's good.
Like it's very open-ended, but there's a lot of things. For one, it's very accessible. You can play it on your phone. You can play it on either
your refrigerator,
like any console, PC. So it's like whatever sort of input method kind of works the most at whatever age they are. You can really customize the experience for that. You can also play with them on whatever device you want as well. So it's like if they only really like playing it on the phone right now, you can be playing on your Xbox or your PC or your PlayStation and be able to play with them. You can teach them how to do stuff. They could just run around and just punch trees if they want to. There's so much, and there's so many new things to discover that I think it's just. And also, you can play the game on peaceful as well, so you don't have to deal with enemies until like they're ready for that. Like or just even creative if they just want to, put blocks down and maybe build stuff. Like there's so much it's so versatile to what type of experience you want to, and what experience they want to. That I think Minecraft is just. I mean, there's a reason it's one of the most popular games in the world right now. Is just because it's limitless. It's basically Legos, but a video game. So I think it's I think it's a very strong. It would have to be like one of the top choices.
It should be on there.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Speaking of Legos, we haven't talked about Lego games yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want to go
Traveler's
ahead
Tale,
next
TT
and
Games.
talk about Lego games, Mitch?
We could. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Yeah,
I think
at the rate at which we're going, we'll do one more kind of like
Go
tour
round?
around the circle. But if we're like, I don't really feel like I have anything like other than my first pick, we won't like force anybody to add an extra one.
Yeah. I think the Lego games are super approachable for kids, and it's something you can play cooperatively as a parent to help them through the experience, teach them how the different character powers work. It plays back into what we talked about with Marvel earlier, of you can pick a license that they like, whether it be Harry Potter, even though J.K. Rowling's a piece of shit, or Marvel, or Star Wars, or I wouldn't
DC,
necessarily go as
like
yeah, I guess
Hobbit.
Batman.
DC's better than
Yeah.
Marvel games. DC Villains is great.
I still gotta play that. I bought it to play with Carmen because she was really excited when I showed it to her, and then we haven't touched it. So
It's the
hopefully we
best
get to that at
Lego
some point.
game so far.
ooh,
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, is that the one we want to put on the list? Because I'd be happy with that. But
Honestly, I don't even think we should put a specific Lego game. I
Just
just
say
think we
any
should
Lego
pick
game?
a Lego series. that
Whatever
pertains to
series
their-
they're into at the moment. Like if you're sitting them down to watch Star Wars, let them play through the movies in Lego form too. If you're sitting them down to watch the Marvel movies, let them do that. Whatever.
I cannot wait for Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga to come out in April. Fact check
Yes.
someone, me, myself.
Sounds right.
Yeah,
'cause
that
I-
sounds. It's
It was
right
gonna
enough.
It was earlier, and then they delayed it. Lego Star Wars. But it just says 2021 now, so we don't have a release date. But I'm really hoping that is real good, because I look forward to playing that with Carmen when that comes out. Yeah, go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
done.
no, I was just saying. I hope the changes they make to the formula doesn't make it feel not Lego, because it's supposed to feel very different from existing Lego games. But I would just leave this at Lego series that pertains to their interest.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can agree with that.
just a Lego game. Yep. Cool. That's it.
Can I make another suggestion?
For
course,
sure.
you're the
Go for
parent.
it.
Mario Party. When you're playing with young kids, very simple controls, learning how to, like, with the mini games, just how to use a controller works really well. You've got that co-op play for families. My kids love Mario Party night.
Do we want to just say Mario Party series, or do you want to put a specific game in there?
No,
I
you
would
have
just
to
say
sit
Super Mario
you
Party.
have to sit them down in order through 50 turns each, all the way through the series. And only then can you introduce them to another game.
Fair.
Yeah.
AJ,
I
I
was-
think,
you wanna
Mario,
go next?
I think Mario Party as a series is one to put down there.
Yeah. I have another suggestion. Wii Sports. Pull out your
Yeah.
Wii from the basement and
Yeah.
Below the
put the
dust
disc
off
in
it.
and just, hey, you wanna do bowling? I think that's
Or
Hope that you didn't forget batteries in the controllers like I did and have to clean them out with some rubbing alcohol and hope that they still work because of the batteries that exploded in them.
I did that in my basement when I was looking through. I realized, oh no, my fucking Wavebird had a corroded battery in it. Fuck.
Oh,
I know.
Rubbing alcohol will. I mean, it saved my Wii controller, so it might help you.
I think you need
Or is it vinegar?
baking soda.
Baking powder or baking
water.
soda?
Baking soda and water.
can I give a deep cut here instead of Wii Sports? You guys are gonna laugh at me anyways. Sports Champions for the PS3 with the PlayStation Move controllers.
No.
Mm.
No. Wii Sports.
now hold on. Let Nathan
No.
say his piece.
No.
Why do you hate sports champions, Mitch?
Because who owns Sports Champions other than Nathan?
I have number 1 and number 2.
I didn't even know they made a number 2.
It was really good.
I'm gonna be honest. I've never heard of this game until you said it right now. So
I played it one time at a friend's house who was convinced that PlayStation Move was going to be the game changer and that the Wii was old technology.
Can I just point out we're still using the PS Move controllers on a PS5?
I
I'm
will
not,
say this
because I haven't plugged my VR headset into it because they don't make it easy. Too many steps.
I will say this. I prefer my Wii remotes over my PlayStation Move controllers. However, there are certain advantages to the PlayStation Move controller that the Wii remote does not have. Case in point, you guys heard of Johann Sebastian Joust?
I have heard of this.
Yes.
Right.
It was a very big giant bomb meme back in the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, for those of you who might not be familiar, basically the idea is it's not even a video game, really. The idea is that, like, on screen, music will play, and while the music plays, you like walk around and move around wildly while holding your like PlayStation Move wand. And then when the music stops, you have to stop, and you can like try and risk it. And like if there's somebody standing over there, it still is a statue. You can try to like hit them and basically knock them out of the game by making them move their PlayStation Move controller. But obviously the risk is that you don't want to move your own body too much because you don't want to shake your controller up as well. During that game, your controller basically emits the light that corresponds to your character that you're currently playing as, and then that light will fade out, if I recall correctly, when you are killed. And it's one of those examples where like you could not do that kind of game with Wii remotes. So I don't know, Mitch. I think you're being a little bit too harsh on, Sony's beloved motion controller. I think that it has more to it than you give it credit.
That might be the case, but the Wii remote was in millions of homes specifically to go bowling without going to a bowling alley, and I think for that reason it belongs on this list. I'm with AJ.
I agree as well.
I mean, I'm in agreement with you. I still think that you and Nathan have something unresolved that you'll need to come head to head to in a future episode.
Only one of us is wearing a PlayStation hat right now, so I think I have enough to say when it comes to PlayStation.
All right. Alex, did you have any more games that you wanted to bring to the table?
Not really. Like, we could literally list most Nintendo properties, and there's going to be a game in that franchise that would work very well. I don't
Yoshi, Kirby,
Animal Crossing,
Captain Toad, Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Luigi's Mansion even, I think, is accessible enough for kids. Like, they do a great job of making games for kids.
Yeah. Like, they are the
main reason I own
undisputed
a
king.
Switch.
Yeah,
because you're a parent.
I wouldn't buy all the Switch games I do if it wasn't for my kids, and that's the honest truth. Most of the Nintendo products that come out nowadays, I do not enjoy. My wife's she beat Origami King, and I want nothing to do with that game because the battle system sucks. I've watched her play it.
A shot.
I think the world looks great, but I think the battle system looks terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't want anything to do with it. But she's about to beat it. My kids have enjoyed it. So
there's something about it. There's something about the way Nintendo makes games.
Yeah, it's their.
And she's only playing that game.
Accessible to everyone.
It's her first start. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was saying it's her first RPG, and she's only playing because it's got the Mario name on it. There's just something about that Mario name.
Mm-hmm.
Even something like Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle was like baby's first tactical RPG. Like, that could even be something you could throw in here of. And even that wasn't even Nintendo. That was a collaboration with Ubisoft, right? Like, they released that title. But there's just something about the IPs that they put out that are just, approachable for young people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's not much else I can kind of say. Like, there's a few games I'm kind of thinking of, but even then I feel like nothing is really. I think our list right now is like the peak. Like, if this is going to be first video game experience, a lot of these are what I would personally do, and then go on to like this next step would be like anything else I would suggest.
Okay. Do we want to start narrowing down from the list we have then?
Sure. I do want to just very briefly say, when I was researching ahead of time what games I wanted to recommend, I went into Telltale's back catalog of games and went to go and see, are there any games on this list that are like, relatively family friendly? Because, stuff like Walking Dead is very easy for anyone to pick up and play, but not everybody should play that, especially if it's
Do not put that in front of your 5-year-old.
Yeah, and they're
Nope.
6 or 5 years old. And I mean, I guess that I suppose that you could probably recommend something like their Guardians of the Galaxy series, for example, which I have not personally played, but which I trust is probably pretty good. Did anyone else here play it?
It was fine.
Okay.
I got
I
the
didn't play it.
platinum. It was a Guardians story. It wasn't the best story, but again, it's an approachable choose your own adventure style game, and I think that's fine. There wasn't anything too graphic. There was a couple of characters that I think spoilers might have been some character death based on your choices. I don't remember exactly, but maybe for an older kid, I don't know if I'd put this in front of a 5-year-old unless they're really into Guardians of the Galaxy.
Fair enough. But in any case, after kind of stealing on Guardians of the Galaxy and the rest of Telltale's catalog, I was drawn back to a game from my childhood that is very much in sort of the same tradition as their games, which is Pajama Sam. Pajama Sam is basically a kind of action game. Sorry, not an action game, an adventure game, sort of in the same vein as things like Tales from Monkey Island, but a lot more skewed down and scaled with younger kids in mind. It was produced by a video game company called Humongous Entertainment that was co-founded by Ron Gilbert, one of the kind of original maestros of the adventure game genre, worked on titles like Maniac Mansion, amongst others. And I think that game is just a really kind of great distillation of, what makes adventure games funny, what makes adventure games, entertaining to play, but in a way that it's very approachable to even 3-year-old Alexander Kazina. So I wanted to throw that in as a last minute, just shot in the dark addition to this list. But if you guys are like, nah, we don't care much about this Pajama Sam dude, I'm totally fine leaving it off.
He worked on Thimbleweed Park. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ron Gilbert, he's the...
Yeah,
that was the big thing about Thimbleweed Park, was that it was like that
he was attached
and
to
it
it.
really is a Maniac Mansion style game.
Yeah. I think it's great to shout a game like this out. I think these kind of games are approachable for kids, but I think with everything else we have, it won't make the top 5, but happy to hear about it.
Cool.
And I agree with Mitch. I think this is a good addition, but I don't think it makes the top 5. I do think if we talk about top 10, it would potentially be there.
I'll be surprised if our top 5 isn't just all Nintendo games.
So let's talk about that top 10. We have, in order, Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Pokemon Sword / Shield, Spider-Man PS4, also known as Spider-Man 2018, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, Minecraft, Lego series that pertain to interest. I'm just reading it down verbatim, what's been written, Mario Party, Wii Sports, and an honorable mention to Pajama Sam. What game right here do we think is like, okay, yeah, this absolutely must be on this list?
Minecraft.
Mario.
All 3 Marios, I would say.
All 3 Marios?
I'd say all 3. I think Mario, Mario Kart, Mario Party all should be here because there's just something about that IP.
Yeah, I think we can leave Mario Party out. We have
Mario
a lot
Party's
of
the only
other.
one I would
there's a
say
lot
is
of-
debatable,
not
but the
that
other
it's a
two
bad-
I agree with.
Not that it's a bad game for kids, but I think I would put, Super Mario Bros. U and Kart over it.
That's fair.
But also Minecraft.
Yeah.
Also Minecraft, yep.
Also Minecraft.
Yeah, I think Minecraft should be on it.
I also think
100%.
Pokemon's a lock there too. I really do.
Well, let's kind of go over the other ones. So if we agree, all right, Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Minecraft are on this list, that leaves Pokemon Sword Shield, Spider-Man, The Wind Waker, Lego, and Wii Sports.
We have to choose 2 of those. I mean, I honestly am in agreement with Mitch. I think especially because it's Pokemon Sword and Shield, I think those are like very, very accessible. I would fully agree with putting those on.
Yeah, and I will say, like, no offense towards the Lego series, but I feel like if part of the point of us creating this top 5 list is we want to create a top 5 list of diverse gaming experiences, like, not that they are exactly alike, but you are doing a lot of similar things in the Lego games and new, like the Super Mario-ish games.
I think the last spot should be a licensed game if we're in agreement on Pokemon being the fourth.
That's
But we can talk about that if AJ, Nathan, Alex, or Kozi, sorry, you have anything to say with regards to Pokemon being on the top 5?
I think
no, I don't have an issue.
I don't have an issue with it. I think for me, should one day the day come when I do that, I would be looking. I would be looking for the easiest way to go through the whole series personally, rather than starting at the most recent one, and being like, "Hey, I got this one version, you get the other version," and then we can trade back and forth. But starting with the old ones and whatnot, just for me personally, because I already know those ones and I know what I'm doing and I can help out where it is there in terms of Pokemon. That's my only hesitancy is, yes, the newer ones, they could do it themselves, but I like the idea, the togetherness
nostalgia
aspect
factor.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that can happen in newer games too, right? Where you're both kind of discovering it
Yeah.
together. And you
That's
at
why
least as
we
a
got
parent would
Sword
have
and Shield.
you
Yeah.
would have an understanding at least of the overall mechanics and can help them when they run into problems with specific gyms or trainers or Pokemon,
Yeah.
whatever the case might be. But
Yeah.
I can see where you're coming from there for sure.
Also, the new Pokemon suck and the old ones are the best. So,
Dude.
Really?
Dude.
yep. They made a
We
fucking
need to-
garbage can.
We need to
Pokemon.
do an episode at some point where we talk about like the different generations of Pokemon and which ones we think are good and bad. I think it went
Oh,
great,
baby.
and then I feel like it dipped, and I feel like the last couple of games,
We
I
could
feel like they
do
brought it back.
top. What do we call it? Top tier, or we do the tier lists of them.
Yeah,
I think
that's-
that could be a fun way to
yeah,
do
I
that.
think
But we
so.
could talk about that offline.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course. So yeah, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Pokemon Sword Shield, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Minecraft are on the list. Which is going to occupy the fabled number 5 spot?
I would
know
put
how
the
I
Lego
feel, but
game
I'll let you
in
guys
there.
go.
I mean,
I think just like the Lego game, their ease of access, the ease of play style, and like I said, if you find that right spark, whether it's Marvel or DC or Star Wars or Harry Potter, that sticks with that kid, they're going to play that game.
I do want to clarify something. Earlier, I said that I wouldn't put the Lego games on the top 5 because of its similarity to Mario. When I was saying that, in my head, I was briefly confused for a second, and I had thought that we had put Super Mario 3D World as our first pick. And if that game was in the running, then I would kind of stand by what I said earlier. But having been reminded, oh no, wait, it's Super Mario Bros. U, which is 2D. I'm more partial towards Lego. I will say though, does anybody have any like horse in the race for Wii Sports?
My only other horse in the race at this point is Spider-Man, because I feel like licensed games are a great way to get kids into games if it's a property they're into, whether it's through the Lego games or something like Spider-Man or Batman or whatever the case might be. I think that's a great introduction. So for me, it comes down to, for this 5th spot, either Spider-Man or Lego.
Alex?
I do think Mitch has a point with the license games. I think that is very like it is, the door to get people in. It's like, oh, there's always a Spider-Man cartoon. There's always one, so it's like, oh, I watched that, and so now I want to play it, and you can be Spider-Man. I think it's a really good way of getting the foot in the door. So, and it's the same thing with the Lego games as well. Like, I think out of those two, I think though I love Spider-Man PS4, and I think it would be a really great experience for a kid, the first one of like their first introduction to games, I think I would lean closer to the Lego games. Just because of the accessibility. There's no real consequence for dying or not playing the game right. I mean, there isn't in Spider-Man unless you're doing the missions. But I think just Lego just is very forgiving. And so that's where I would lean.
AJ,
hi.
I think that you're going to be the deciding factor here.
Give me my options one more time.
So people aren't really rooting for Wii Sports, so it's come down to Lego series versus Spider-Man PS4.
I gotta say the Lego series.
That takes
Because
it.
there's so many you have so many choices there, and I'm with a Marvel Lego game. I'm pretty sure you can still play as Spider-Man.
Yep.
So
And Spider-Gwen and Venom and
I think only in the so there were, as far as I know, there were 3 Lego Marvel games. There was Lego Marvel Superheroes, Lego Avengers, and Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. I don't think you could in Avengers, but the other 2 I'm pretty sure you could.
yeah,
I believe
so you can still get that superhero Spider-Man fix in that if you go that direction.
That's
That's
that
it.
works
All
for me.
right. Well, with AJ having cast his vote, the official final ranking is Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Minecraft, and finally, Lego series, whatever pertains to your interest. We hope that you'll appreciate this, Brynvar, and you will use it to good use. I gotta say, that was a lot of fun. I don't know about
That's
you
a
guys,
blast.
but
Yeah.
that was a good ass topic of the show. It's great when we're not yipping at each other's necks. All right.
Until next week.
Well,
when we can
yeah,
argue about
until next
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Before we can talk about next week, though, we have to do our outro. Thank you to everybody for tuning into this episode of Press YYZ. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to click that subscribe button on YouTube. Check us out on Twitch. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Come hang out with us on Discord. And follow us on our Twitter account at Press YYZ, which will keep you up to date on when we go live and post new episodes. And of course, you can find the rest of the crew on their own social accounts on social media. Mitch, where can they find you?
I'm everywhere. You can find me at Mr. Mitch George, including the recently created TikTok account where I send a bunch of TikToks to friends and don't actually create content myself. But I've gone down a rabbit hole, guys. It's bad. We'll talk about it later.
All right. AJ.
You can find me all over the internet at @TimesHero, capital T, capital H.
Nathan? Nathan?
Mr. McInerney.
For a second, I was like, oh shit, did everybody else freeze for me? Am I lost in space?
No, I think it's just Nathan.
Well, Nathan can't tell us where he is. We can tell you he's on Twitter and Instagram at _NMac.
Yep. Alex?
Twitter blatantly _Alex and Instagram blatantly Alex.
All right, cool.
Nathan, are you back? Nope. I thought I heard his voice for a split second.
I'll just say quickly right here
too.
that you can find me on Twitter at AlexCusina. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/KoziRlive. Another reminder that I am going to be starting up my cooking streams real soon. My first one is going to be this Friday, the 22nd. I am going to be making, this is a world exclusive reveal right here, right now.
Shit.
At this moment. I am going to be making Junkertown loaded burgers and chocolate crackle bombs from the official Overwatch cookbook. This is the first time this is ever being revealed, so please look forward to that. All right. Till next time, thank you for playing.
Take care, guys.
Doo-doo-doo-doo.